Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. We've got part 2 of the Yankees spring training report, and the injury bug already hit baseball. I'll explain. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's go!
It's New York Minute Sports.
Well, there you have it, folks. Welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Well, the injury bug has hit baseball already. And before we get into the spring training preview, I just want to break some breaking news right here. I know a lot of Blue Jays fans watch this show. Anthony Santander is going to be out for 5 to 6 months. I repeat, Anthony Santander is going to be out 5 to 6 months. The 5-year, $90 million man with $60 million of that money deferred. And I'm telling you, this contract is going to age as poorly as an Aaron Hicks from the New York Yankees. So Toronto Blue Jay fans, let me know in the comments below, how are the Blue Jays going to pivot with that injury? Then let's go over to Queens, the New York Mets. Lindor today with a broken bone in the palm of his hand. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Now, the thing about the Lindor injury is he didn't know that this was lingering from last year, because there's reports that say that he had an issue with the hand at the end of last year. Instead of taking care of it in the 4 months that you have off, you wait till you get to spring training. Is that Lindor's roundabout way to get out of spring training being a veteran on this team? So he's out 4 to 6, and now there's news, yes, of Anthony Volpe, folks. Anthony Volpe. The story continues. So you know how Anthony tore his labrum, and he's not going to be there to start the season. We might not see Anthony Volpe all the way until July or August. And guess what? You might want to add some years to his contract. Let me explain. The Yankees are going to do some contract manipulation, they call it in Major League Baseball. I'm not going to get into the minutia of it, but you only have a certain amount of send-ups and send-downs to AAA. So if a guy's struggling, he only has 2 or 3 times you can send him down to AAA. Now, the Yankees have played Anthony Volpe like a rented mule. Okay, and they never sent him down when he was struggling because they had nobody to replace him. Now, with the acquisition of Caballero, they can play little baby games with Anthony Volpe. So here's the deal. If Anthony Volpe comes back, if they send him down to AAA for 20 days, that will extend his contract, the existing contract on the books, until 28 and 29. So if they send him down for a month to AAA this year when he's done with his injury rehab, they can theoretically add 2 years to Anthony Volpe's contract. Now, my question to you is, do you like more Anthony Volpe? Because you're going to get it. At league minimum, before he goes to arbitration, he's going to be making anywhere between $800,000 to $1.2 million. So Anthony Volpe will be a deal, and if he only plays in 123 games a season, he might be an effective player in Major League Baseball. That also leaves the window open for Austin Wells. They came up at the same time. They have the same years, same contract. Will they do the same thing with Austin Wells at one point this year to extend him to 28 and 29? But that's enough about the future. Let's go right now to spring training Yankees preview. This is part 2. Yesterday, I did the first half. And like I said, always, when I watch a video with you guys, I'm doing it live off the cuff. So let's go right now to Joel Sherman at the New York Post and his water torture that is this interview with Cranberry Shirt. And let's get to it.
And I think he's, and by the way, I think he's great.
No, look, I agree with you, Joel. It's that secret sauce the Yankees are missing. Another thing that Yankees fans always are mystified is how this team completely falls apart in June and July again, and that somehow seems to carry over into the postseason. But I do want to ask you though, the Paul Goldschmidt factor here again.
But hold on, before we get to that, the Boon Swoon that he was just talking about, I know this is a conspiracy theory. Get your tinfoil hats out with me. I think the Yankees start crunching the numbers, and what you have seen from the New York Yankees, they usually have a weak schedule in the beginning of the season. They get up about 8 games in the division, and then they kind of coast. So they start crunching the numbers and they're like, all right, we really need to only win 42 games in the second half of the season to make the playoffs. So I think they're getting cute in that. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Tinfoil hat, does it have a leak
Like
in
you
it?
talked about that righty bat. Like you've been like, Ryan, we're nitpicking here. The final bat of the bench. Like it's really, is it that big of a deal when we come to the end of the day? Paul Goldschmidt might be pinch hitting against the tough lefty in the bullpen in the World Series or the ALCS. So make some sense here. Why Paul Goldschmidt coming back on a 1-year deal for the Yankees?
Well, that makes sense because Ben Rice is going to be the everyday first baseman. And if Paul Goldschmidt is playing every 3rd or 4th day, you can save him throughout a whole season. Now, Paul Goldschmidt, if you notice the start of last year, he was hitting 460 in the leadoff spot. He was a singles machine. What happened? He played 3 months of the season and he fell off a cliff because he's an older player, just like Giancarlo Stanton. I wish they had the Bartolo Colon rule. I would tell guys like that, come back after the All-Star break, fake an injury, and play half a season because that you could be effective. Listen, if Ben Rice turns into the player and the first baseman that we think that he can be, Paul Goldschmidt will be an afterthought on this team and will be a good defensive replacement in the 7th inning if Ben Rice doesn't really take defensively well to first base.
So I think it's the right question. So, look, he's imperfect. At this moment, of all the people who will go to position players who will go to spring training on a 40-man roster, I think only Carlos Santana with Arizona is older than Paul Goldschmidt. I think by the beginning of the season, Carlos Santana will be 40, Goldschmidt's 38. And I think we saw it in the second half last year, some physical wear and tear begin to take hold of him. Having said that, he remained one of the 10 best hitters in the whole sport against lefties. He hit about 330 with a 980 OPS against lefty pitching, and he is not Gold Glove Paul Goldschmidt at first base, but he's still above average at it. And I know one of the complaints I've seen, because I guess people have to complain or they're not happy, is, well, now these are the Yankees. They won't let Ben Rice bat all the time or play all the time. Well, Ben Rice had 530 plate appearances last year. Would anyone, if he stays off of the IL and stays productive, I'm willing to book every bet that he gets more than that this year, because Goldschmidt was the starting first baseman last year. Rice is going to be the starting first baseman.
I want you guys to think about a world right now where Ben Rice gets to go day one in spring training and start at first base and learn the position. Last year, every day that he showed up to the stadium, it was like, oh, today you're DH. Oh, today you're catching. Oh, today you're at first base. Oh, today you're benched after hitting 3 home runs yesterday. So Ben Rice was jumping through hoops last year. And this year, if he was that consistent at the plate, imagine what he's going to do now. And when guys are consistent in the field, they do better in the batter's box.
This year, he's going to play against every righty. By the way, I think he'll play against a lot of lefties. You know how? He'll catch. The guy, do you know that Ben Rice's slugging percentage against lefties last year was .481? Would you like to know what Jazz Chisholm with 31 home runs overall slugging percentage was? .481. Now, Ben Rice hit about .205 against lefties. So that probably needs to get a little better while he's also slugging. But I think he'll continue to catch a little bit against it. And I think that that Goldschmidt, if the Yankees are up 3-2 and Ben Rice's at bat has cleared in the 8th inning or 9th inning, he'll come in and play defense. Now, if Ben Rice, I'll use them again, was a Rocky or a White Sox, he would play against all the lefties and play 9 innings at first base.
Yeah.
The Yankees are playing for everything this year. There's like 10 teams that you kind of look at and say they're playing for everything. And then another 5 to 8 will be added along the season, and 1 or 2 from the.
And speaking of everything to play for, the odds just came out for the World Series favorites right now. The Dodgers, obviously, number 1. They're favored to win like 100, have 100 wins this year. The New York Yankees are the second odd-on favorite to win the World Series this year. Vegas has them at 91 wins. What do you think about those numbers? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm quite surprised.
And will be disappointing and fall out. The Yankees playing for everything. Like this isn't Ben Rice fantasy camp.
No.
If Ben Rice proves that but by the way, a hard worker, proves that he's gotten much better at first base and gotten to major league average, he'll finish a lot of games defensively at first base.
Will.
if his batting average rises against lefties, the Yankees will play him against a lot of lefties. Ben Rice has earned the starting first base job, which is for right now going to be probably 75 to 80% of the games. That's well over 500 plate appearances, my suspicion is. If he gets better on defense and gets better against lefties, one or the other, or incredibly both, he's going to bat over 600 times this year.
Yeah,
like, you're looking for reasons to be miserable.
And let's be real.
The Yankees,
let's be real. Giancarlo Stanton gets hurt every year. And if Ben Rice, and if he goes down, Ben Rice will go to the DH if Judge isn't DHing.
Right. You know, or by the way, to preserve his body a little, Goldschmidt will DH against some lefties. And Rice, again, if Rice proves capable.
Now, this is the good thing about what Brian Cashman has done with the New York Yankees. They're talking about flexibility in a lineup, guys. If somebody does get hurt, it's not the end of the world. We got 3 dudes who can be the DH. That opens up a door for Jason Dominguez. That opens up a door for a lot of guys. And Giancarlo Stanton, as far as I'm concerned, I love Giancarlo Stanton. I'm happy for what he did as a Yankee. He's a logjam to the development of a lot of young guys on this team. And I think Trent Grisham falls into that category as well.
Last year, especially as the year went along.
And they have to. I mean, let's not forget, the Red Sox have Garrett Crochet. They brought in Ranger Suarez this offseason, another tough lefty. So the Yankees have to be able to hit the lefties well. Joel, I want to go some comments.
We have Shane McClanahan back in Tampa.
Yeah.
They're missing 2 years. So, yeah.
Oh, and IKF came out today and stated that the Toronto Blue Jays preferred to play the New York Yankees and hope they beat the Boston Red Sox because that's who they wanted to play in the playoffs. And I know a lot of Yankee fans lost their shit, got really upset, but guess what? Maybe the reason that a lot of Yankee fans got upset is because it's the truth. I know it's not cool to hear it from a guy like IKF that was on the Blue Jays last year, went to our rivals, the Boston Red Sox, but the guy's not saying any lies. I was sitting in the stadium, and I was telling my friend Playoff Patty that you see here on the show, the best thing that happened to the Yankees last year in the first round of the playoffs, that it was a shortened series. Because if we played the Boston Red Sox in that long series and we're going to see those round of starters again, the Yankees were going to be in big trouble in the playoffs and might have not got out of the first round.
And Trevor Rogers is in Baltimore as well for the Orioles.
25% of your games are going to be against
all your work. Do you see Paul DeJong maybe making the roster and any other possible surprises to make the roster for the 2026 spring training Yankees?
First of all, thank you for the nice words, and thank you for taking the time to write and support the show. I hope I remember to say that for each of the questions, but it's sincere, especially if you were here from the beginning and you heard what I said about my friends at the Washington Post and what we need to keep the New York Post thriving. Hold
on. This whole New York Post thing, I don't know if you've heard it. The Washington Post, laid off their whole sports department. And, he started this whole thing off. I quit through it, saying that we need to save the sports section for the Washington Post, and we need to do this and we need to do that. Listen, this is a money rules everything world. If the sports section in the Washington Post was making any kind of coin for the paper, they'd still be in business and they'd still have jobs. If they were a sought-after sports media company that people go to get their sports information, they would still have jobs. All these people in dying mediums like regular cable box TV and people in the newspapers don't know, apparently, that we're living in the year 2026 and companies are trimming the fat because everybody is doing exactly what Joel Sherman is doing right now, a show on YouTube. Instead of the New York Post financing a show in studio in New York that Joel Sherman can do, they do a Skype interview and then put it on YouTube because guess what? That's where it's going. So I had to just touch on that real quick because all I keep hearing is these writers sobbing about the Washington Post. But if you want me to feel sorry for a writer that makes $275K a year and hasn't really done a good job in over a decade, I don't know. You might want to ask somebody else.
The biggest problem for DeJong is he's a right-hand hitter who doesn't hit lefties real well, where we were just talking about this. So though I think he could play second, short, and third, he strikes out like 40% of the time against lefties. He hits in the low 200s. So I think he's an emergency guy. I would note the Yankees made a small trade today for a guy named Max Schumann, who's a right-hand hitting infielder who is, by reputation, somebody I actually thought about a lot when he got designated for assignment. I wonder if the Yankees are going to go get him because his rep is a high-end defender across the infield. So I don't think, by the way, Max Schumann's going to make the team either. But I think that those are our backup guys. The place where they can have a surprise, they have a Rule 5 guy from St. Louis in there that they're going to look at in the bullpen. Again, Aaron Boone was on the podcast with John Heyman and myself last week. He talked up Brett Hedrick at a very high level.
That's a name that keeps coming up.
What he's liked about him in the bullpen.
So the Yankees haven't made a lot of moves in the bullpen. They got the guys that they had 2-year control over, Bender, Duvall, and at the trade deadline. But now the reason that we haven't seen a lot of acquisitions from the bullpen is because I think the Yankees are going to do it in-house with the young arms, because the Yankees do have a plethora of young arms in the farm system. They need to work on their positional players because they have given up a lot to get players like Cody Bellinger, the deal from the Milwaukee Brewers, and now we see Caleb Dermott going to be a thorn on our side for the next 2 years playing for Boston.
Pen last year, I would remind folks something I said last week that I think is very true. It's interesting to see Weaver and Williams here at Met Camp, right? Because the Yankee bullpen was like their worst bullpen in a long time last year. And the Mets took 2 guys out of that bullpen last year who were kind of like worse last year than, say, the year before. And in Devin Williams' case, any point in his career. One of the things the Yankees had always had to make their bullpens.
Yankee fans, real quick, how do you think Devin Williams, Low-Lev Dev, and Luke Dreamweaver are going to perform for the Mets this year? Let me know in the comments below, because I got a feeling I don't think it's going to bode well. I think that Luke Weaver should be kissing the feet of Brian Trashman for getting him the payday of $20 million. He was almost out of baseball 2 years ago before he got in the Yankees pitching laboratory, and they turned his career around.
Really strong, was a surprise or two. Wow, who the heck is Jake Cousins kind of guy? Tim Hill couldn't play for the White Sox, and now he's doing this for the Yankees. And of course, somebody else who's here, who's maybe the greatest example, is Clay Holmes, who the day the Yankees trade for him, I mean, nobody cares about that trade that day, but he turned into their closer and a really very strong postseason pitcher for them. And so they need, because they go into this camp where you feel like Bednar, Hill, Cruz, Duvall are probably set guys. So,
and not to mention Yarborough, man, at middle relief. The Yankees got really, really strong in their middle relief this year, and that has been a weak point for the Yankees pitching staff over the last 5 years.
And somebody's going to fall out of with full health. And again, the Yankees will love the problem if they get there. If they have full health, then either Yarborough or Blackburn or both also are going to be in their bullpen.
And Tim Hill's got a spot, obviously, as a lefty out of the bullpen too for them too. So if Hedrick can make his way to to that bullpen as another lefty option, that'd be awesome for the Yankees.
I do think a power lefty would really help him, and Hedrick did show some signs last year as a power lefty. I will say this: go look at the last 2 years, Ryan Yarborough against lefties. It's all the funk in his thing. Lefties, I guess, don't see the ball real well, even at.
And that's another thing. If you got a guy like Luis Heel who starts the game, and he has that really smooth, effortless toss, then you get a guy like Tim Hill, who's asshole and elbows whenever you throw it. Tim Hill, king of the hill, AutoZone, employee of the month every month. Whenever you see him, that submarine style, it messes up the timing, and that's what baseball's all about. And I've always been a firm believer in that. Even if you have shitty bullpen guys, if you to throw in the 7, 8, 9, if you have 3 bullpen guys that have different forms of throwing, like Tim Hill with the submarine, Nelson Cruz with the over the top, that screws the batter up, and the batter's eye, the levels change on it all the time. And that is, I'll tell you this, you can have lesser talented guys in your bullpen that throw junk and throw it oddly, can be more effective.
He's got
miles
that
an hour.
weird delivery a little bit too.
Yeah,
I feel like
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, like there's a lot of funk in there.
Yeah.
So I do think he can help their bullpen as for both length and against lefties.
That's a good answer there, Joel. All right, I got next one here. I got John DeMond. He asks, if there are no injuries, are the Yankees planning on sending Jason Dominguez to Scranton? Will Dominguez play in left and Spencer Jones in center?
This is what I made the video on a couple of days ago. You can check it on New York Minute, NEWYRKMIN, Instagram, YouTube, right here. Go and check in the past videos. Jason Dominguez's report came out that he's going to start the season in AAA. From John Heyman. Idiot. Okay, he was just trying to sell clicks and sell papers that day because that is a non-starter story. If, as far as I'm concerned, let me know in the comments below. Jason Dominguez is the guy over Spencer Jones. There is no skin off the Yankees' nuts putting Spencer Jones in AAA for another year. You got to remember 2 years ago or a year ago, Spencer Jones broke the strikeout record in AA and AAA. All right? He just fell out of the top 100 prospects in all of baseball, and he just had the most home runs in AAA. So what are we missing with Spencer Jones? Don't be brought into the smoke and mirrors of the 6'7" left-handed Aaron Judge. That's the way Brian Cashman's going to sell it to other teams. If I say I would move Spencer Jones because he is more sexy and we haven't seen him yet, the mystery and the allure is what teams are going to buy, and that's what Brian Cashman is great at doing.
If that happens.
Thank you, John. Also, I think that without injury, Dominguez and Jones are both at AAA. This is something I said on the show last week, and I believe I know there's a lot of narrative that if Jason Dominguez goes to the minor leagues, he's done.
That's got to ruin Jason Dominguez's stock. I mean, if he gets sent back down to AAA and starts the season there, this Martian, this 5-tool player that we heard so much about, this future center fielder of the New York Yankees, the Martian has landed. The guy that we spent $7 million on international money on is a bust. His stock is going to drop. That's why I say Spencer Jones is the guy, because we haven't seen him yet. You could sell the allure of Spencer Jones. Jason Dominguez, I think, can be a serviceable, above serviceable guy. He can be a Melky Cabrera plus.
You said it before. At some point this year, Giancarlo Stanton's probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
At that point, I would say there's a pretty good race between Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez for who should get called up, because there's no sense in having either of those guys here. Like I don't understand the argument to have Dominguez as a part-time outfielder when he's a switch hitter who has yet to show he could hit from the side he'd need to hit from to play every day or play regularly, even play twice a week against lefty starters. So Jason Dominguez, by nature, is right-handed. And I think between injury, called up to the major leagues, he has not gotten a lot of reps against lefty pitching. I think there would be some value in him playing every day in the minor leagues, including against the 2 or 3 lefties, to see if he could get that back, to either get back to New York or be a more valuable trade piece.
But what if he goes to AAA and he blows? Because that can mess with guys' psyche. Once you're up in the majors, you don't think you're ever going to have to be on that AAA bus again. How is that going to affect Jason Dominguez, who's come with so much hoopla? Not his fault, our fault. And the way that he's been built up by Brian Cashman, I don't know. If he spends the season in AAA, his stock will plummet.
Because someplace in Jason Dominguez, again, I don't mean to be repetitive for the people who are nice enough to listen every week, but I think one of the things that hurt Jason Dominguez worse of all was getting nicknamed the Martian. And like that built this expectation, he's like Mantle. No, he's not. Like other teams never believed that about Jason Dominguez. Like this was New York hype. But we've seen the power didn't play last year, but we've seen he has real power.
Oh, he's got pop, especially from that left side.
The speed played last year. If there is a 2020, if he could get to major league average corner outfielder, that's really valuable. It's not the Martian, but it's valuable. And if he could portray that that's who he's going to actually be while at Scranton, the Yankees will be able to trade him for something decent. Right now, that player hasn't happened. And again, if there's anyone new to the show and you're kind of going to learn how I think, one of the things I always do, even though I don't gamble at all, is I play, if we were going to do an under-over, how many major league plate appearances would you say?
Cranberry Shirt's terrified. Whenever Joel does this to him, he gives him an over-under. He doesn't know how to, Cranberry Shirt doesn't know how to play the game. He locks up and he goes, look at the eyes. Look at Cranberry's eyes. This poor thing, once Joel starts grabbing his neck, it's over for Cranberry Shirt. Let's see how he handles this one.
At an over-under on for Dominguez this year. 150, 175, 200. I think it'd probably be someplace in there. So I do think there'll be a moment where
ask him a question, doesn't let him answer. Look at the eyes. I'm feeling bad for Cranberry Shirt. Asks him a question, doesn't let him answer.
he gets his shot. If he takes the 150 in that period where Stanton is hurt and performs, like that level.
I think Yankees fans would be disappointed, obviously, like you said, just because of that news of Dominguez, who came out on fire with that home run against Verlander, and just it took a life of its own. And man, if that kid could just learn how to play center field, I think even with his skill set, right, like being so fast and athletic, it would just make him so much more valuable as a backup option to Trent Grisham. Just because there is such a huge X factor there with Grisham. Like, he had an amazing year last year, a career year. The Yankees obviously rewarded him with that 1 year tag, and it's like he took it. He's going to run with it and see if he can prove he can replicate that this year. But there's a lot riding him there for him to be hitting in front of Aaron Judge.
And now the Yankees are in a catch-22. Jason Dominguez starts playing out of his mind in AAA and starts turning into the player that we think he should be, starts playing a good outfield. Now you got Pumpkinhead, Trent Grisham, Reggie Jackson, and Albert Einstein's love child playing center field with a down year, and the front office is going to pressure the Yankees to play him every day because he is making $22 million, as opposed to Jason Dominguez's $800K.
Watching a lot of pitches, getting on base, and being a good defender in center field like the Yankees hope that he can be. With
24 and a half homers, over or under on Grisham.
It's good. It's a good number.
Yeah.
I would say
I'm a good bookie without ever betting. You see what I do here?
I would say he has to finish over for that kind of contract.
He let him finish one. We've made progress, folks. Trent Grisham over under 24 home runs. Let me know in the comments below. We're playing Joel Sherman's casino night.
That 1 year
Then
deal.
he was worth.
Then he's worth.
A 1 year.
Then he's worth the 1 year deal.
Like in other words, if you actually think he's going to hit 25 homers,
that's what I was thinking.
this year,
25 next year for Grisham.
Yeah. Then again, if the Yankees were the White Sox or the Rockies, you do not qualify Trent Grisham.
Well, if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle, Joel Sherman. Yeah, so that's it for now because this video is getting a little bit too long. So there you go. You got the injury report. You got the spring training report. We're going to have to do a part 3 on this bad boy. And also, one of the comments on the video from yesterday was Joel Sherman looks like a sober Andy Dick. And it's so spot on, I can't unsee it now. So tomorrow we'll have part 3 with this. Any of the breaking news from Major League Baseball. Remember, you got Lindor, Santander, and Anthony Volpe all injured. You can check us out right here, New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.